Walters is the Community Wildfire Resilience Specialist. That's hard to say. Of the Whatcom Conservation District. We also have joining Robert. We have Alexis Bryson in the middle here, and she is Community Wildfire Resilience Technician, and Annika Sweeney, who is Outreach and Education Manager for the district. And so we'll be starting with Annika, who will be explaining what the district does for us. And in visiting their website, they do a lot. They do a lot. I had no idea the amount of resources that we have available through this district. So it's really good that you're able to join us and educate us. And so thank you and welcome. And I also want to introduce to you all the members of the SRA staff that are here. Robert, you asked if we could have our maintenance director.
Yeah.
That's Leroy Dugal right here. Our general manager, Aaron Hassan, and our Architectural Standard Committee Administrator, Carol Ballard, is right over here. And so these are the staff people. The rest of us are all community members, residents here. And so welcome, and we'll turn this over to you. Thank you.
Thank you for that lovely introduction, and it's really great to meet you all. Thank you for inviting us here today. I'm Annika Sweeney. I'm the Outreach and Education Manager with Whatcom Conservation District. I've been with the district now for over 10 years, which would seem like an eternity, but not at the same time. We were able to recently bring on these two and build up our capacity within our community welfare resilience program. So I wanted to introduce how this fits into the bigger kind of realm of what we do at the conservation district. Because like you said, most people have never heard of what a conservation district does, and we do a lot of different things. I didn't know what it did at all until I applied for the job, actually. So not alone. So conservation districts are the division of state government. So we're a special purpose district, like a cemetery district or a school district or any of those types of divisions of state government. There's 45 in Washington state, over 3,000 nationwide. Almost every county has a conservation district. And we're governed by a board of 5 supervisors that really steer the direction for us to be focused on local natural resource priorities, right? So, and those are voluntary positions, but they're elected and appointed. So we're able to really focus on what are the natural resource priorities here locally in Whatcom County. And I'll kind of touch on what our main subject matters are. But conservation districts were sort of built out of the Dust Bowl when it was recognized that what people do on private property can have an influence on public health and the public good. And with that, the conservation district system was created. And it's pretty amazing because we're one of the few local governments that are non-regulatory, so we have no regulatory oversight, and we can do work with private landowners, and many government agencies can't. So it really provides us a great avenue to support landowners in stewarding their properties, and that's really what we work with primarily. So like the slide says, we've been around since 1946, and we fostered that healthy, sustainable relationship between people and the environment. So you can move on to the next one. So I like to think about the conservation district as working at that intersection between people and place. So we provide this ecological understanding and deep connection to the land, resources and economy, but we promote responsible stewardship and sustainable land management to support natural resource-based economy. So a lot of what we do is work with timber lands, with farmers directly, with those that have sort of larger acreage, because those are the folks that might need more support in stewarding. You can go to the next one. So when we think about, so when we think about the natural resource priorities here in Whatcom County, fish and wildlife habitat is one of those primary elements. So we improve riparian areas along fish-bearing streams. Our salmon, our Pacific salmon, are both threatened and endangered here in Whatcom County. And so we work really closely with landowners that have any sort of waterways on their property. This is an example of a CREP buffer, a conservation reserve enhancement program. We also have funding for other types of buffer establishment where we support the landowner in establishing these native trees and shrubs on either side of a water course that then shades that stream, creates habitat for bull-nosed salmon and protects the water for older salmon. We also remove fish passage barriers on private property and build habitat for pollinators and elsewhere in other types of environments. The next one. So conservation planning. So we have community agriculture and local food systems is another big priority area that we have, along with working lands productivity and conservation. So we provide free and confidential planning support for all types of farmers, whether you're a berry producer, potatoes, a small scale pasture forward operation, like this is what is shown here, or large dairy farms. We use research to help establish best management practices for any of these different types of farms and provide that all and it's free and confidential. The other piece that we are really known for is we know where all the grants are. We know where the financial support is to like get some like manure storage or pasture planting, or we have a equipment share program, all those different pieces. So we also have the financial support to make sure that we're balancing the ecological values with the economic viability of the farm. And then my personal favorite are educational outreach programs, which is for all of those different things. But we provide place-based learning opportunities like this, like our community presentations. But we have 4 big events every year. Our Run with the Chums 5K is actually one of our big events that happens over in the BP Highlands. So pretty close to you guys. We have the Farm Expo, we have the nutrient management training, and then we have our native plant sale, which has been going on for 35+ years. We have Farm Speaker Series that goes on, and then I have a youth education program where we're in 4th grade classrooms across Whatcom County, really focused on watershed health and water conservation. And then, that's okay. Sure. And great. So the next one, then we're going to be diving a lot more into this, is the community resiliency and preparedness natural resource priorities. So while today we're going to be really talking about wildfire preparedness, we also have carbon farming work that we do with our farmers. We have now a forestry program that we're able to work with landowners who have timberland. But really the focus is to promote forest health, integrity, and stewardship on non-industrial private forest land, increase implementation of wildfire risk reduction practices, and reduce wildfire risk throughout Whatcom County. So as we think about, so this is kind of nested under our climate resiliency and preparedness goals within the conservation district, and how we do that is what Robert and Alexis. Thank you.
Question?
Sure.
Do you have a staff of people who go out and work, or where do you get the labor?
Great question. Okay. So every conservation district is really different. Some have like 1 or 2 staff members total. Others have up to like 40. We have 18 staff members that we have, managers, coordinators, specialists, technicians, etc. But most of the work that we get done on the ground is providing that technical assistance support. So saying, okay, here's your farm plan. This is what we think you should do. And these are the people that can do it for you. So we have access to Conservation Corps crew, so Washington Conservation Corps. And then like with some of our chipper projects, like I was just seeing here, we use a DNR crew that can help with those. So we can help find resources for that, but we're not doing that on the So like the planting, we do all the technical assistance, we do all the planning for the project, but the landowner, they get to find their own contractor. We have a list of folks that can do that. They can choose their own contractor. It's because it's on their property. We want to give them the ability to choose that. And then we were able to pay the contractors directly so that it doesn't put a financial burden more on the land.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
Thank you.
All right. So, you might have guessed Annika is a little more experienced in regards to this than I am, so I will be looking down at my notes mostly. But I have some prepared slides for you folks today, and just want to start by thanking you for having us here today. We appreciate your interest in our Wi-Fi resilience program. We hope we can provide you some useful information and resources here today. We will have time for questions at the end of the presentation, but at any point something jumps out at you, please feel free to stop me and ask questions, and we'll proceed from there. You might not even know this, but this is our official kickoff event for Wildfire Awareness Month.
That's great.
As it was so
Here we are.
named by our Whatcom County executive. So we are
No.
in official capacity
I
today.
didn't even know. We're like, that's perfect.
So thank you for inviting us on such an important day.
Not on April 30th. I would not have done it.
So Whatcom Conservation District, along with our partners, has developed a multifaceted approach to reducing the risk of wildfire. It's based on 4 primary goals: empowering landowners through tools, resources, and access to experts in educational events; supporting communities. We help communities with fuel reduction projects. We offer assistance in applying for staying active as a Firewise USA community. Evaluating wildfire risk. We work with individual homeowners and communities to evaluate risk and make mitigation recommendations. And engaging with partners. Working with others to better serve the county. Our shared expertise and collaborations often lead to better outcomes for everyone. We work with multiple fire districts, DNR, municipalities, tribes, and many others. What was once an issue for the other side of the mountains is becoming more and more an issue for our side. You might not know this, but 2 weekends ago, we had very active fires off of Bender Road and one down in Lyman. I was actually able to do a post-fire tour of the Lyman fire, and it started at a small burn pile in somebody's backyard and wound up encompassing 50 acres. Very quickly, at the end of April in Western Washington. So, some wake up kind of stuff for us over here, right? As more people build and move into what we call the wildland urban interface, the risk to life and property is only increasing. And this expansion into this area is only one of the factors that increase that risk. Climatic trends of higher temperatures with less rainfall and an earlier snow melt all combine to provide for the conditions that are necessary for more frequent and higher intensity wildfires. Not only does the snow melt earlier, but many years we don't have as much of it to melt. A good case is this year, 2023 to 2024 snow melt is estimated at 68% of its normal capacity, which means we're going to have less water coming down off the mountains available in our streams and rivers. On top of that, the entire state, including Whatcom County, has been declared a drought condition for 2024 already. In the face of this knowledge, however, there are steps that we can take as individuals and communities to protect our homes and our communities. People often choose to live where they live because of what they like. The people who like forested areas will live in forested areas, as many of you have chosen to do. Oftentimes, people will associate getting ready for wildfire as a need to remove all the trees because that's what they're going home. That's not true. Nobody wants to take all the trees down. The Lorax is my favorite Dr. Seuss character, so we don't want to do that. But as you can see by this photo here, a home can survive an intense wildfire completely surrounded by trees if we take steps to make it wildfire resilient. The next portion of this presentation is probably the most important presentation, not just because you're not listening to me. But one of the most respected faces and voices in the wildfire world is Jack Cohen. He has one of the coolest jobs in the world. He gets to build houses and burn them down inside of a big factory setting and study why and how they burn down so that he can make suggestions. He also was a post-fire evaluator and has gone out on hundreds of post-fires to determine how and why houses burn down. So this is one of the shorter videos, it's about 13 minutes long, that we're going to share with you, and hopefully all the audio works and everything. But this is very important information. We're going to basically piggyback on the end of this after this video. This is what we're afraid of.
So
The Zoom connection.
I can push that earlier.
You need to mute anything?
How would we,
Can we mute
Can
these
we-
speakers?
can you mute your speaker and then?
My sound is gone, by the way. Everything is mute. Can you hear me?
The sound should be there.
It is, it's on high.
Did you tell them?
Yeah,
We're working on.
Did they say anything?
yeah, that sound is back now. I lost you for about 5 minutes.
Yeah, we're working on that.
Uncontrolled.
So it's.
He's trying to play a game.
It's disaster.
Let me try something.
That's pretty good. Nice from power line. Is it available?
Yes, it's available on YouTube.
Oh, on YouTube.
Keep that again.
Yep.
Okay, so it's available on YouTube, and I'm happy after this meeting to send Delia a link that she can share with everybody. And once you go, be careful, because he has about 40 other videos. Next thing you know, it's 2 o'clock in the morning, I'm John, and you're a big tech.
Put your wildfire expert.
I probably more than you. We're gonna stop that and try to go to the next slide. Thank you. So actually, I don't want to go. Sorry, guys. No. No, stop.
Sorry.
Okay. So the best thing that we can do that we can see from the film there is make preparations on our home in that, what we call the home ignition zone. And we break it down into 3 zones. The first zone includes the home itself. Sorry, guys. Yeah, I'm gonna start over. Sorry. As emphasized by the video we just saw, the most important thing homeowners can do is to create a defensible space within what is known as the home ignition zone. The idea here is to create a space where firefighters can hunker down and make a stand to save your home, but rather take steps on and near the home so that it can survive a wildfire on its own. Some of these steps are easy, some require a bit more effort, but they're all crucial. One of the services our program does provide to concerned residents is to come out and do a free home risk assessment that will address possible issues within that home ignition zone. The home ignition zone is laid out in 3 zones. The first one includes the home itself and the first 5 feet out from the house. In this area, some of the steps that can be taken are outlined on the slide. Things like making sure we remove flammable debris from the roofs, decks, and gutters, maintaining a 5-foot buffer of non-combustible materials around the structure, and not storing flammable materials under decks or up against the home. The second zone extends up to 30 feet away from the home, and we like to refer to it as lean, clean, and green. Photos here are good examples of how to maintain that lean, clean, and green zone. Using non-combustible materials or hardscaping to break up the continuity of possible ground fuels, the spacing of trees, and keeping large vegetation 10 feet or further away from the home. Embers are the #1 cause of home ignitions and wildfire. So on top of hardening the home so that it's less susceptible to these embers, we can also take steps in zone 3, which goes out to 100 feet from the home, to prevent ground fires from becoming crown fires that would then be a primary source for those embers that will threaten the home. We've laid out here some of the next steps that Semiahmoo can take to build towards greater wildfire resilience. As you can see here by this slide, just taking an aerial view, it looks like most of the neighborhoods in Semiahmoo should be taking measures to be better prepared. However, the best knowledge is usually local knowledge. And so we will need feedback and cooperation from the neighborhood associations, HOA organizations, residents, maintenance personnel, and others to identify and prioritize those highest risk areas.
There it is. There's your 5-second debate.
Alexis, take it from here. In addition to those individual home risk assessments, Whatcom City also provides community level assessments, which is kind of what we were invited here to do today. But after looking through the mapping and the large area that Semiahmoo contains, I think it's really best if we move forward by breaking the community into smaller units. I believe you have 27 neighborhoods here, individual recognized neighborhoods. And I think that would be our best approach, is to do assessments for each one of those individual neighborhoods, realizing that there's some overlap and definitely some cooperation that's going to need to happen between everybody to get the best results.
And there'll probably be a lot of similarities between the neighborhoods.
Absolutely.
Once we identify what one neighborhood needs, it's probably gonna be replicated in other neighborhoods too.
And it might be those, you might prioritize the neighborhood that you want to.
That would be, we've looked to Leroy for that.
Yeah. So I got feeling we and Leroy are each other real well. And after identifying and prioritizing these neighborhoods, we would work with each one to strategize and implement outreach to garner resident engagement. Then at the request of neighborhoods and individual homeowners, we will conduct assessments and deliver reports that will outline actions that should be taken to prepare for the possibility of wildfire. If the neighborhoods would like to pursue Firewise USA participation and recognition, we can also guide them through that process as well.
So did you say that you could do a by neighborhood report?
Yes,
Okay,
absolutely.
good, thank you.
And again, we just want to thank you for having us here today. Thank you for the time, taking the time to hear about our program and how we can assist and support your community. For more information on our services and program, please visit whatcomcd.org/wildfire. And now,
And then you also have those brochures up front too.
yeah, we have brochures and cards. I think on the back of the brochures, we have little stickers that have a QR code. And if you
Yeah.
scan the QR code, it'll take you directly to our wildfire page.
Why don't we everybody take one and pass them down? And then they're leaving some for us. to have.
Okay. It actually has a little tab where you click that, put your information in, and it shows up on our email and we schedule.
We're gonna leave some in the SRA office too, on the front, that front table. As well as. Does anybody want?
Yes, please.
So I'm actually from the, wildlife.
I pass those around too.
Yeah.
So that's sort of my thing.
Well, the outreach girl.
And all the way
That's
to
okay.
making recommendations to look at what your
Share the
recommendations
top.
might do to.
Wildlife habitat interactions and things like that. So it depends on the home, right? Everything's gonna be an individual basis. So if we've got homes that, you know, we call it the 100-foot zone after the end there, but if a home's on a steep slope, we'll extend that further out because fire travels up slope a little bit faster, right? I'm not sure how large the lots are around here. It seems like they vary in size. But if you got an extremely large lot and you've got some forest area on there and you've created some habitat sanctuary areas for wildlife, you definitely work around that and still make the property wildfire resilient and prepared. I kind of look at it this way, we make value decisions every day, whether we consciously decide to do something or subconsciously. You know, I decide on Cheerios over bananas some mornings. I'm gonna pay the price later. It is what it is. So also people have to make those value decisions for themselves on their property.
And can I add on to that a little bit too? So often when we think about what wildlife need, especially in the springtime, is those areas to be nurturing young. And so when we think about brush piles that may have accumulated over the course of like the winter months, then the recommendation is just to hold off until, let's say, you know, June, when we know that hopefully many of those babies are out in the world instead of really disturbing them.
Right.
So that's like something that it's just that's like another recommendation that keeps that wildlife in mind. And we're often, most people do preventative actions as the warm weather comes. Not necessarily earlier than that, so it might actually can work out in that way.
A lot of our
At the end of June, before you say that.
Yeah, that's
Right.
Yeah.
So our mitigation efforts that we recommend will usually have a time component as well. So we don't want anybody out limbing their trees in August. Because the spark from that chainsaw might be the spark. Right?
Interesting.
You don't want you removing those habitat piles until those youngins have moved on. So there's always a time component to that as well. So we want to be careful when we're doing things, how we're approaching it.
Good, thank you, I'm glad you did that.
Do you have a schedule of activities that you recommend along with that?
In that little pamphlet that you have, that is like the most condensed version, but it actually has a lot of recommendations for you to do your own kind of walk around assessment. You can notice, you know, hey, I got these beautiful cedar benches on my wooden deck, which is my cedar siding. And you know what, again, time, right?
Have you been to my?
That's my. And that's fine, November through end of March. But as we learned a couple weeks ago, April, just a quick side note, the DNR folks are telling us they would rather see a burn ban between the middle of April and the middle of May instead of the beginning of June. Because every year they see these fires, the relative humidity goes down, we have that burst of warmth when the flies and the bees come out early and all that. It's the same thing that starts these fires at time. But, so it's time constrained, right? That cedar furniture is great during the wintering months, but we might want to go to the resin composite kind of stuff for the summer. And then again, it's a value decision. Do I value that beautiful cedar deck? Am I willing to take a chance with that beautiful cedar deck if it means it could be the fuse that makes the home go away? So.
So that composite stuff does not.
Tracks. It takes a lot of heat to melt. And then let me say this about wood too. Wood is a poor conductor of heat. That's why we roast marshmallows with wooden sticks and not metal ones. Because you can hold on to the end of that stick for a long, you will roast a lot of marshmallows on that stick before you feel it get hot. It takes a lot of time to transfer heat into a piece of wood, whether it's cedar decking or a 2x4. It's once that is ignited, it transfers faster, right? So getting rid of the pine needles and the leaf litter and stuff on those wooden structures is going to give them a better chance of surviving fire. And another great thing, and you probably realize this, we're not living up on the mountain, right? We're here, we have good fire protection districts around us. And so in all likelihood, your fire protection district is going to be able to defend your structures here. It's just in the case of, the worst case scenario is a wildland fire turns into a structure fire, and now it's structure to structure. So those, I don't know if you noticed that house in Colorado, but there were still some pretty healthy trees around it. And the other pictures of the houses that were gone, the only left standing is the chimney and the trees around it. And those trees are only burned on the house side because the trees are fire adapted. They've learned to live with fire. They shed their limbs naturally as they grow, so they don't have the natural ladder fuels. The bark is serrated in a way that it makes flame travel around the tree and not just sit there and consume it. So, everything around us naturally has evolved for fire. We just kind of got to do the same with the way we build and maintain our homes.
Any questions? Yes.
How do we get from here to the assessments of each area?
Well, Robert and his team have allocated about an hour after this
Yeah.
meeting for us to, we might not be able to hit all 27 neighborhoods.
Right.
But if we could, Leroy, if you could, you're the one that's in every neighborhood, you know which ones are more wooded, more likely to experience a fire risk. And so if you could suggest which ones we start with, maybe we could focus on those because again, there's so many similarities between the neighborhoods that those would probably be similar in the
Yeah.
various neighborhoods. So if you wouldn't mind,
Yeah, no.
okay,
Boundary Ridge would be the first place I start.
okay. Yeah, right across the street from my house.
Yeah, we're gonna see your senior benefit.
Yeah. Have a cedar deck.
We'll start the fire and then prove it is.
Yeah.
So, and then what I'd like to do, anybody that wants to go on the website and request a risk assessment, we're happy to comply.
Right.
But as far as like an overall cohesive kind of program for a resort community, I think if we could get in front of this neighborhood leaders association or whatever you refer to,
Mhm.
if we get in front of those people and then get each individual neighborhood really interested in doing this, and we can work with each of them individually, but we know there's gonna be overlap and
Right.
all that, and we can coordinate all that. But
You could schedule a day
Yeah,
out here,
exactly.
with your team.
And
Yeah.
one thing that we have done too is just if there's maybe one home that's willing to sort of host an assessment, and because if all the homes have similar characteristics, like we were talking about, then you do a walkthrough of, say, your home or somebody's home with others from the neighborhood, then you're able to almost, and they're like, oh yeah, I have that same vent, or I have, and so it's similar enough and it maximizes our resources, like we want to be also as efficient as we can, right? But that makes sense, like you just,
Right.
if a lot of the homes are having similar issues, I think everybody would glean a lot.
And the homes that were built earlier and the development of the resort,
Yeah.
like when we were required to have shake shingle roofs,
Mhm.
you know, we didn't have any other choice. So our house is one of those that still has a shake roof,
Got it.
because we re-roofed our house with 30-year shake just before they made the change. Yeah, exactly. So, so you'll see in different neighborhoods,
Yeah.
some of them will be much more fire resilient because they're a newer neighborhood. And after the codes had all changed, the older neighborhoods are gonna see more homes with, you know, risk. That, yeah,
And most neighborhoods were built sort of at the same time.
Right. So the reason he's recommending Boundary Ridge is it was the first neighborhood it was built. So it's gonna be the one that's gonna have the most
Sure.
wood roofs, wood decks, wood.
No trees or.
Yeah, or mature trees, and you're gonna have a field day with my house. But that's okay.
Also, houses that are not occupied year round are gonna be
Yeah.
trouble spots also.
Right, and,
They're gonna be high risk.
yeah, and some of the houses have gardeners that come every week and keep the grounds all immaculate.
Mhm.
Others, maybe the gardener comes once a month, you know, when
But
they're out,
still,
when they're
with
away.
that- With that, that's becomes an owner's responsibility to be reminding their
Right,
landscape team of what their expectation is to help that.
right,
Right,
I
and
mean, even one day, once a month or every week is irrelevant. If you're doing it once a month, that's more than most people are doing it. And if you're asking them to make sure that those things are trimmed back or they're getting the dead stuff out of your bushes,
Mhm.
even just once a month is gonna be
Anything-
better than 20% of the community itself.
And we also have resources, you call it landscape, we call it vegetation management.
Mhm.
We have resources to, you know, other than just removing the stuff. We have some native fire resistant plants
Mhm.
list that, you know, for new plantings, or replacement plantings, that kind of thing. We have resources
Okay.
to do that as well.
Okay, thank you. And then I think another, after we do Boundary Ridge, I think we could go down to the spit. Because I was emailed last night, somebody from the environmental committee emailed and said that they've had to call the fire department at night to have them come out and put out fires down at the park down there. Yeah, and that could ignite the hillside, you know, going up to Drayton Cove or going up to Boundary Ridge. So we can see from the spit, we can look up those hillsides and you can maybe point out some things that could be done to help mitigate the risk of fire going up the hillside.
Sure.
So,
Yeah, I mean, you know, this is a process
Mhm.
and we continue to learn with all the neighborhoods. It's, you know, it's not gonna be, we're done by August or anything. And it is, even after we get the assessments and the recommendations and all that, it's ongoing. It's just something that you'll have to constantly keep up on. And this way, none of the recommendations that we make are bad for natural home maintenance anyway.
Mhm.
Right, it's kind of, you're killing two birds with one stone, with a lot of things that we're recommending, so.
Okay. Well, shall we go on our field trip?
Sure.
Okay.
One thing I actually started on the one word that I have is, so I live on the Smith, to be honest, and my one concern would be the park is that the Whatcom Park, Stony Department has, you know, the Mamish or Simeon Park there. And there is a tremendous amount of dead pine trees within that park. That could really fuel a fire in, you know, like August or even in June, it'll get really bright, you know, months. And the state does get very, very dry.
Yes.
And there's an abundance of grass that grows, so you could have it go up the hillside, you can have it
Go down the,
go down.
yeah.
And your response time from the fire department is about 20 minutes.
Mhm.
So, you know, and there's really not a water source, you know, whether it's at the park. I think there's some snippets that if you had, you know, some of the, I mean, that would be,
Yeah.
in my view, you know, kind of what we've got going on, the undeveloped lots, and then, that park area, because we have, you know, it's public use.
Mhm.
And, I think that the public is not always aware of the dangers of,
Sure.
like.
They're having a picnic,
Yeah.
they're not thinking about.
Or like about this time of year, there'll be beach fires. And, the beach fires that, maybe that you're referencing, that their fire department is called. But whenever I called, the fire department or something, it's like 20 minutes out. And I think that's a long time. And when you brought something, breaking that down, then I was here.
But that brings up the issue of evacuation routes too, because then, if that spit catches on fire, the homes that are down at the end in the inn, where do they go? Yeah.
And so you're able to be in contact with emergency management, and that would be your best resource,
Okay.
evacuation preparedness.
Oh, okay.
They have,
I didn't
they
realize.
have resources for alerts, notifications,
Oh.
and then they can also look at mapping, to provide evacuation.
Which boat top?
Resources do you have? So you might enjoy looking at my neighbor's house. Because they're never there. They have a metal roof, which is good,
Yep.
but the metal roof is, the gutters are full of dead stuff because they don't maintain it. And all down every crack of the metal roof is all this dead stuff. And I'll have to go back and look. I don't know how close some of it is to wood, but I expect it is because their house is good.
Sure.
And the gutters clearly can't drain, the water will just shoot off. So what can be done, like, could you assess that house and make a recommendation which could be given to the homeowner? To do that?
We all fell in it.
Okay.
As Monica mentioned, we are non-regulatory,
Right.
which gives us a lot of leeway in a lot of things, but not that much. But I will say that
Material to get to.
you live in a community that has HOA, I'm sure there's some kind of enforcement or something that will changes that can happen in order. Okay. Yeah. And you're not alone, we often get called to settle.
Yeah.
Not only between neighbors, but the other day, the guy wanted us to tell him that his wife was wrong.
No.
Like,
I know.
No, I would not get into that.
Okay. So if you,